I should have trusted my instincts from the very first day. But you know how it is. You move into a new neighborhood, you want to fit in, make friends, be the good neighbor. You ignore the little things, the strange feelings, the red flags that your gut is screaming at you to notice. By the time I realized what was living next door, it was almost too late. This is my story, and I'm telling it as a warning, because what happened to me could happen to anyone. It started 6 months ago when my wife Sarah and I moved into our dream home. You know the type. Quiet suburban street, white picket fences, kids riding bikes. Picture perfect. The neighbors seemed friendly enough. There was Mrs. Chen on the left, always tending her garden. The Johnsons across the street with their golden retriever. And then there was the house on our right. Number 47, the family that lived there. The Millers. They seemed normal at first, a couple in their 40s, Mark and Linda, with a teenage daughter named Emma. They welcomed us with a casserole on our first night. Linda smiled, but her eyes, they didn't quite match her expression. Cold, vacant. Like she was performing a script she'd memorized but didn't understand. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she said, her voice unnaturally monotone. "We're so glad to have new friends." The pause before new friends felt deliberate, calculated, but I brushed it off. Moving stress, right? Everyone's a little weird when you first meet them. The first real sign came 3 weeks later. It was 2 in the morning, and I woke up to use the bathroom. As I passed our bedroom window, I noticed lights on at number 47. Not just lights. Every single light in the house was blazing. And in the backyard I could see figures, 3 of them, standing in a perfect circle, completely still, not moving, not talking, just standing there. I watched for 10 minutes. They didn't move an inch. It was like looking at statues. "What are you doing?" Sarah's voice made me jump. "The neighbors, they're just standing in their yard." She looked out the window and frowned. "That's weird. Maybe it's some kind of meditation thing." "At 2 a.m.? She shrugged and went back to bed. But I couldn't shake the image. 3 figures motionless in the dead of night. After that, I started paying more attention. And once you start looking, you can't stop seeing the cracks in the facade. The Millers never ate. I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. In 6 months of living next door, I never once saw them bring in groceries. No delivery trucks, no pizza nights, nothing. Their trash cans were always empty on collection day. Always. Who doesn't produce trash? Then there was the smell. Every few weeks this horrible odor would drift from their house, metallic, sharp, like copper mixed with something rotten. It would last for a day or 2, then vanish completely. When I mentioned it to other neighbors, they looked at me like I was crazy. "What smell?" they'd ask, but I knew what I smelled. And the daughter, Emma. I never saw her leave for school, never saw her come home. One day I asked Mrs. Chen about it. "Oh, Emma," she said, not looking up from her roses. "She's homeschooled." "Really? Linda never mentioned that." Mrs. Chen's pruning shears paused mid-cut. "Did I say homeschooled? I meant she goes to a private school out of district." Her voice changed, became flat, just like Linda's. I backed away slowly. "Right, thanks." The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. Sarah was visiting her sister, so I was home alone. Around 11 p.m. I heard a knock at my door. When I opened it, Mark Miller was standing there, but something was wrong. His movements were too smooth, too fluid, like he was gliding rather than walking. "Good evening, neighbor," he said, that same rehearsed quality to his voice. "May I come in? We need to talk." Every instinct I had screamed no. "Actually, it's pretty late, Mark. Can this wait until tomorrow?" His head tilted 30 degrees to the left. Too far. No human neck bends like that comfortably. "It really can't. You've been watching us, asking questions. This concerns you." My hand tightened on the doorframe. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You've noticed things, patterns, behaviors that don't fit." His voice dropped lower, and for the first time, I heard something underneath it. Something that wasn't human. A clicking sound, like insect legs on glass. "You're making the others nervous." "The others?" He smiled. His teeth were too white, too perfect, too many. "The neighborhood association. We've worked very hard to maintain our community standards. We can't have disruptions." I started closing the door. "I think you should leave." His hand shot out and stopped the door. I'm not a small guy, but I couldn't budge it. His grip was like iron. "Listen very carefully," he said, and his eyes changed. The pupils stretched vertically like a cat's, and behind them I saw something moving, something that writhed and pulsed. "You have 2 choices. You can forget what you see, stop watching, stop questioning, live your normal life, or what? Or we'll help you fit in, like we helped the Chens, the Johnsons, the Rodriguezes on Oak Street, like we've helped so many others." I yanked my hand back and slammed the door with my shoulder, throwing the deadbolt. Through the peephole I watched him stand there for a full minute, that inhuman smile still fixed on his face. Then he turned and glided back to number 47. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my living room with every light on, a baseball bat across my lap, watching their house. At 3 a.m., the lights went on again. All of them. And in the windows, I saw shapes. Not 3, not 4. Dozens. Moving in synchronized patterns like a hive, like bees in a colony. That's when I understood. It wasn't just the Millers, it was spreading. I pulled up my phone and started researching. Missing persons in the area, unsolved disappearances, and I found them. Dozens of reports over the past 5 years, all within a 10-mile radius. People who vanished without a trace. The comments on the articles were what got me though. Neighbors saying things like, "Oh, they moved away suddenly," or "they seemed happy before they left." But the dates matched up with when new families moved in. They weren't killing people, they were replacing them. When Sarah came home the next morning, I told her everything. At first she thought I was having a breakdown, but then I showed her the research, the patterns, the videos I'd recorded of the Millers' nightly gatherings. "We need to leave," I said. "Today, right now." She looked at me, then at the window facing number 47. "What about the police?" "And tell them what? That our neighbors are body-snatching aliens. They'll think we're insane. We pack what we can, we get in the car, and we drive until we're somewhere these things can't find us." We started packing immediately, but as I carried boxes to the car, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Every neighbor on the street was outside, all of them, standing on their lawns, watching us, not moving, not speaking, just watching with those same vacant eyes. Mrs. Chen stood by her roses, pruning shears hanging limply at her side. The Johnsons were on their porch, their golden retriever sitting perfectly still beside them, not even panting. And the Millers, as all 3 of them, stood at the property line, their heads tilted at that same impossible angle. "Sarah," I whispered, "get in the car now." We loaded the last box, climbed in, and I turned the key. For one horrible second I thought the car wouldn't start, but the engine roared to life and I gunned it down the street. In the rearview mirror, I watched every single neighbor turn in unison to watch us leave. We drove for 6 hours straight, didn't stop until we hit the state line. We're in a motel now, paying cash, trying to figure out our next move. I've been researching online, looking for others who've experienced the same thing. And I found them. Dozens of stories just like mine. Different cities, different states, but always the same pattern. Perfect neighborhoods. Friendly neighbors. And then, the change. Some people say they're extraterrestrial. Others think they're interdimensional parasites. A few believe they're the next stage of human evolution, taking over gradually. I don't know what they are. I just know they're spreading. So if you're watching this and your neighbors seem a little too perfect, if they stand too still, speak too carefully, if their eyes don't quite track right, pay attention. Trust your instincts. And whatever you do, don't let them in. Because once they're inside, once they know you've seen them for what they really are, you only have 2 choices. Run, or become one of them. And I can still hear Mark's voice in my head, that clicking sound underneath his words. We've helped so many others. I don't know if we're safe. I don't know if anywhere is safe, but I had to share this story, had to warn people, because if it happened to me, it can happen to you. Watch your neighbors. Trust your gut. And if you see the signs, get out before it's too late. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below. And if you want to hear more true horror stories, hit that subscribe button, because the truth is out there, and it might be living right next door.